we'll go 7. All right, give me a test. 1, 2, 3.
Oh wow, test 1, 2, 3.
All right, we are already recording, man. What's going on, everyone? This is going to be a great episode. You know, you got to just be ready because opportunity shows up, and sometimes you got to show up the next day. And my man here was kind enough to say yes, and here we are. Yes. Thank you for tuning in to the Failed Podcast. I am your host, Sam Esquivel. Here at the Failed Podcast, we focus on the failures and challenges our guests have experienced, along with the lessons that they have learned. Our hope is that you learn from their lessons, and if you're facing challenges, maybe one of our guests can encourage you to keep going. Through the power of conversation and asking the right questions, we hope to leave you with insight and wisdom that can help you face your failures and challenges. On behalf of the Failed Podcast, thank you for listening. And now we want to welcome our guest, Rapheal Crump. How you doing, my man?
Pretty good. Good morning.
The spelling on your name, boy, I had to read it slow.
Yeah.
It's an interesting way to write it, but thank you for coming on the Failed Podcast. Thank you for joining us. Interestingly enough, I was reading your bio, and guys, it's super long. It will be in the show notes. He's born and raised in New York. He made his way down to Texas. He's a graphic designer. Family life, his grandparents and stuff played a big role in what he is today, and he's very thankful for what his parents instilled in him as a young boy. And now he's here. He's in Dallas. He's representing. He's creating some very unique art that it kind of provokes you when you look at it, and it makes you think. And I think that that's what art's supposed to do. But we're going to get into it. This is my first interview with an artist. And like I'm passionate about the arts and fine art, oil on canvas, works on paper. Like I love it. And so thank you for coming on. The questions are easy because it's your life.
Yeah.
And the goal is just to encourage people, especially because you're an artist and there's so many people who want to be an artist, but there's always so many people discouraging them to be an artist because it's so difficult. But whenever you think of like mental health or expressing yourself, you can't compare. If you can find an avenue and you're able to express yourself, it's a good thing, like for a human, you know what I mean? And you're there, you've already tapped into it. So we're going to explore that a little bit, but let's go back to where you were born and raised. Do you remember the day you were born? No, I'm joking. Tell me a little bit about where you're from.
Originally from Mount Vernon, born in the Bronx, White Plains, New York. Born and raised up there. It's a small little area right outside of Manhattan, just north of Manhattan, 10 minutes. Yeah. So I could literally see the city from.
Oh, really? That's a nice view, man. Yes. We see it in photos, but that's very cool. Guys, if you're watching, you might hear a beat the whole episode. We're in a public place, and it's just going to be going off. Get used to it. It's just our third guest, so just roll with it. So, all right, tell me a little bit about what your childhood was like. Do you remember your elementary school, your upbringing, how your home life was?
Yeah, man. It was very centered around art and education from the first thing I can remember. My parents were artists. My dad was like a graffiti artist in the street. So I'd always see his sketchbooks and spray paint and markers everywhere. My mom was a painter, illustrator. So I'd always see her painting on canvases and drawing pictures for people.
Yeah.
And I believe that's how they met at like a party together. And that's how they got along. They both were artists, you know.
Now, growing up, looking at both of their art and the way they did the art, when did you realize how different their mediums were or how similar they were? When did you start saying, my dad does this and my mom does that?
Yeah. Well, it was different because I would go to like nighttime classes with my mom. She would go to community college art classes. So I get to sit in art class and see all these different paintings and canvases everywhere and easels and paints. But going with my dad was like hanging out in the street, seeing murals.
That's a different classroom.
Yeah, it's a different kind of classroom. So I grew up with that, you know, and I just automatically picked it up. I would be using their materials and laying on the floor drawing, you know.
There's an interesting challenge between your mom and your dad and the medium that they chose, because one, it's looked at and admired. It's a classroom. We're teaching theory, good stuff. And the other one, society, culture has been, they push back, especially when your dad was doing it. There was a lot of pushback. It's more like acceptable now to be a graffiti artist because we've seen their complete journey, where they started and then where they are now. There's so many names up there that we can mention who have started where your dad was, and then they've elevated to the highest levels. How do you see that? How do you see the difference between those two classrooms and those two cultures? One's fighting against it, and the other one's like, this, you got to go to art school.
Well, the crazy thing is, they're both forms of expression, no matter what, whether people look down on it or people praise it. Wall mural art, graffiti art is just as important as the classroom canvas painting art, because it's somebody's expression. That's their way of telling their story on a surface for you to appreciate.
When you talk to your folks here as an older man, what were they what was their reason behind their expression? And the reason I'm asking is because I want to compare it in a little bit when we get into your art, why you've chosen and why you're expressing yourself in this way.
It was their way of clearing their thoughts and their hearts, telling their stories, and in their way of expressing their style and who they were for other people to see, instead of just talking or making music. It's just, I want you to visually know who I am and what I'm about, and this is me from the inside on this wall for you to see.
What's something that stands out for both of them, like as far as their process, or like whenever they completed a work? Because to me, for an artist, completion is almost impossible. You're like, one more stroke, one more shade. And so just to put it out there doesn't say it's finished, but you have to get to that point. What can you think about your dad when he said, that's done? And then your mom's like, this job's complete. Was there like an art or a figure or a project that they did that stands out?
Oh man, the process I've always seen them do was, my mom would sketch everything on paper first, find reference images. My dad would sketch everything in his black books, find reference images, and make his artwork that way.
Yeah.
My mom, as painting in the studio, she had as much time as she could to get it done. My dad was like, hey, we got to knock this out tonight. We just got to get to that wall, knock it out tonight, and see it tomorrow when the sun comes up.
I've never thought about that. Tell me the difference. What is a time restriction, a sense of urgency? What does it do to creating art? Like, what is it? How does it change it? Because one, you're in a hurry, and the other one, you're like, when it comes to me.
Yeah, I would say.
And where do you find yourself in those two speeds?
Good. I was going to connect that too. When there's a sense of urgency or a deadline, it makes you just create. You just have to get it done. There's no second guessing. You're just honest, purely putting it out.
Like heart, boom,
how you feel. Just get it out because it has to be done, and you don't second guess every stroke or every color that you use. You're just confident about it, and it doesn't let you have time to go back and try to fiddle with things. You just have to be comfortable with it, you know.
I like that. I like that type of like creating where it's like, don't think about it, just do it and put it out there. It kind of shifts your thinking, and then you learn about yourself more. Because on the other way, when you slow, you lean on yourself more because you have time.
Yeah, you have more time. I even with the time restriction thing, I even host an event. I'm not trying to plug it, but
plug it. What is it? What is it?
It's called Art Battle Dallas.
I saw that. I saw your YouTube art battle. I was like, is he dropping some bars? And I was like, no, he's dropping some paint.
Yeah, so they're painting. So these artists, they're fresh artists just starting out. Some of them are established, but the battle gives them only 20 minutes to do a whole painting. So they don't have time to make it perfect. But within those 20 minutes, having that time restriction, their artwork comes out so pure and honest and beautiful, and people connect to it right away.
Is this an annual thing?
We do about like 7 times a year.
7? Okay, when is the next one coming up?
I think it's going to be March 4th in Wichita Falls, and then March 6th, I believe, here. I'll get you the proper
Give me
dates.
the info, guys. I'm going to plug it, so keep up on my social media. I'm going to try to go if you would have me as your guest, because I want to take my camera. But I want my audience to experience that, because there's a filter between what you think and then how you release it. For me, like my canvas is like storytelling. but my brain, whatever it thinks, I say it. Like the filter's very small, and I'm very connected to what I do. And so looking at your stuff, I get the same feeling. Okay, I know your parents had an early impact on you when it came to art and graphics and stuff like that, but what's the earliest memory of art and expression that you remember, whether it was from you, a museum, or something?
Coming from my parents being artists, and I always picked up pencils and paper and draw, like doing artwork. My grandparents saw that, and they were really big on education.
Yeah.
So every weekend, my grandmother would be like, "Hey, get 2 of your friends. We're going to go down to the museum."
Which museum were y'all going to?
So we would go to the Metropolitan Museum of Arts. We go to Guggenheim. We go to all of these downtown.
The Met, guys, that's what you see in all the movies. Mm-hmm. The Met Gala, they walk up the stairs. That place is huge. It's amazing. I love going there. I love the way it smells. I love the way it looks. Mm-hmm. So what, did that have a huge impact?
Man, yeah, it did, because it opened up my eyes to see such masterpieces, from classics to brand new artwork.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, this is beautiful. This is somebody's vision here for us. It's always going to be here for us to enjoy, you know? And then my grandparents made us pick our favorite paintings, and then we'd have to go back to the public library where we lived at, find a book on the artist, and do a book report.
That's great.
Before we can go outside and bike ride and go have fun outside.
Yeah. What are some of your, when you talk about masterpieces, pieces that are 60, 100 years old, what's something that kind of always speaks to you?
Oh man, there's one artist, Alphonse Mucha. He used a very strong, like, illustrative feeling in his paintings. Everything was decorative, and it would be these beautiful women, but it was painted, but there would be these beautiful women with like a hard graphic design behind them, but it was all paint. And their dresses would flow into the frame of the painting.
Yeah.
And that just stuck in my head to this very day. Yeah. Like seeing, it was almost like graffiti.
It was both mixes from your mom and dad.
Yeah.
And that was the baby.
Mm-hmm. Just meshed together. And I'm just seeing this, and I'm like, wow, even there's so many different ways of expression. There's so many different ways of styles and artwork. And this guy was doing this way back in the day, So, and it's timeless. It's something you look at now and still appreciate.
Absolutely. What were some significant experiences that shaped you when you were young that you reflect on and you say, man, I'm glad I went through it. I'm glad that I observed that. It shows in my art. A life experience that you went through that kind of shaped you today.
Oh man, I remember I would go with my mother to work and look at cars and trucks and trees and buildings. By the time we get to work, I had finished my homework sitting there, and I would start drawing the cars, the trucks, the trees that I saw. And one of her clients walks up and was like, "Did you draw that?" I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "I'll give you $10 for it."
So you made your first sale around what age?
Had to be like 6, 7.
Man.
And then I was like, "Whoa, people buy this stuff, buy what I just put out."
Yeah.
Just because I like to do it. Somebody wanted it. So that right there was like a impactful moment, realizing that, okay, I'm doing something that other people like, and it's not about the money, but they want it so much they're willing to pay for it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so here we go. What are some of the? We'll just jump right back into kids.
Yeah, we got this. It's cool.
What are some of the biggest challenges and maybe things that tested you at a young age, growing up in New York? Obviously, like, you knew your path was in art somehow.
One of the biggest challenges growing up in New York at a young age, maybe the fact that our schools really didn't push the arts as much. They want everybody to be a basketball player, doctor, lawyer.
Yeah.
The art wing was really small. We didn't have too many resources. That's why I'm grateful for my grandparents and my parents for what they gave me.
Yeah.
Because we literally, doing what artists do now, we had to make something out of nothing and make it work with the little bit of supplies and resources that we had.
And so, talk to me about your journey from New York to Texas. And you were already doing art, but when did your mentality about it being your life start shifting, and when did you step into it a little more full time?
Oh man, when I was in New York, I was going to every gallery show, every opening, trying to rub elbows with people, meet who I need to meet. but I wasn't established. I was a new person, fresh on the scene, so nobody would pay attention. And I've always wanted to be a painter. I was doing graphic design to pay back school. So I kind of lost myself in that for a couple of years. I stopped. I stopped painting in New York. The company that I was with moved me to Texas to continue running the art department. And while I'm down here, the art community was so strong and embracing me, which allowed me to pick back up my artwork and get into shows. And then it was just something that I told myself. I was like, I'm going to take this more serious. I'm going to make this happen.
Now, working in graphic design, we know that there's a lot of parameters and rules, and clients want something specific. How long? Okay, so you developed that muscle and that habit. Have you been fighting against it more, like to get away from it so that you can get to a more free, more expressive type of work?
Oh man, yeah. That's something that I'm kind of doing my best now, is to loosen up a little bit. I would love to get back and get a little more free and loose into abstract, but still put my imagery in it. So if you look at some of my paintings, you'll see different techniques, different styles, different applications of me experimenting with abstract and realism.
So if you had to describe the work that you're doing now, and I know, we as creatives, we hate being put in, in that kind of, but how would you describe what you're doing compared to the way that people experience it?
It would be kind of hard to put it in a bubble because it's all about the experience. So I would say it's like a modern contemporary art with a little bit of an urban city feel to it. And it's all about where I've been and what I've seen, what I've experienced. So I try to put that image and the feel of it into my artwork.
Can you tell us about your creative process and how you approach a new painting? And the reason I ask that is because the challenge for people is starting. Now we can talk about our projects or what we want to do all day, but people struggle with starting it. So how do you've obviously, you got 34 works here in this exhibit, in this that you have up, but how do you start each one? I just feel like it's so hard.
Oh, it can be a challenge. Us artists have a lot of ideas, and the ideas for me come from experiences or things that I've seen. So I have the image of this old town in my head with the birds, but it might be a couple months until I'm ready to paint it, until I feel like I'm ready to paint it. So then I'll go and find reference imagery, whether I took the pictures or I'll find a picture of a bird and something to follow. And then I'll do my sketches, compose it, figure my colors out. And then once I got that locked down, then I know I'm ready to paint it. But sometimes it'll take months for that idea to process, to be ready, or it'll be the next day, depending on how impactful it was for me.
This is a question for some young people. For a painting like this, this one's 48 by 36. How long do you spend on something like this from start to finish? Because people think, man, one day he knocked it out. What's the real behind it?
Oh man, it comes down to the timeline, the deadline we said before. It depends on when I need to get it done, or sometimes if I'm really emotionally attached to a painting and I feel like I need to get it out, it can take me 2 or 3 days. I've seen some people finish a painting in an hour, but I've seen people take 2 years to finish a painting.
Now, whenever I look at one of your paintings, I can obviously see some of the skill set that you use. I saw some of the tools you use to create it. When do you start leaning more on like being free, and how restricted are you by your techniques?
Oh man, I would say, I know I want the image to look a certain way, but I also still want to have fun with it. So there's certain times where I'll be very detailed and certain times where I'm just expressive. I want this paint dab to feel gritty and nice, just easily done, to give you that energy in a painting, to let you know that it was pure energy and fun and my heart into it.
So like this format with me and you talking, this is me showing what I know. And then I have other episodes where I'm more free and I'm more laughing and I don't have a piece of paper in my hand. So that's how like our two mediums compare. So I do the same. It's like, so, okay, here we go. what are some of the challenges that you have faced as a painter or an artist that you had to overcome?
Challenges.
You're like, I had to eat less.
Yeah, man.
The term comes to mind, starving artist, right?
There's a lot of challenges. There's a lot of challenges to this. You just have to, first of all, you have to realize that it's not an overnight success. A lot of people want to be an artist and they want the success right away, but you have to be honest and true to yourself and be like, hey, this might take me 10, 15 years for people to at least acknowledge one of my paintings. So you have to do this for yourself. You have to be honest and true to yourself. You're not going to be the next Basquiat in a day. It's going to take a while for you, first of all, to be comfortable and solid on who you are in order to give people truth through your artwork for them to appreciate it. So it's going to take time. So that's always been a challenge. It's like, all right, I know I'm not ready yet. I feel like I'm ready. I'm almost there. So I'm going to keep giving it my all and just be honest and true.
What are some of the things that you put to practice to build your confidence as an artist, as even just, it's so hard to talk about yourself, to say, because everyone says, you're amazing, you're amazing, you're amazing. But how do you talk about yourself?
I have to stay grounded. I can't let it get to me. I don't walk around with an ego like I'm the best person.
When I met you, I felt that. Like I said, this dude's got good vibes. Like he received me really well. I asked him, hey, let's do this interview. And he was very open to it. So that aligns with what you're saying. So how have you maintained it?
I would think because it's always humbling. All of this is very humbling. There's very high points and very low points.
Got it.
So it keeps you grounded. There's really good times and then there's really hard times, and you have to stay level through both of those. You have to keep the same focus and the same passion through both, because it's really good sometimes and it's really hard sometimes.
But you still got to be present in both.
Be present in both, no matter what, because this is you. This is your world. This is your heart, and your soul. So you can't lose it. You can't balloon on a string, lose it. And you can't pop the balloon. You gotta keep it at a good level.
I have a funny soliloquy here. That's a shout out to Stephen A. Anyways, we dream, all of us dream, and then we're like talking with someone and we try to describe our dreams. Oh, I had this crazy dream. I was like this and the buildings look like that. As an artist, do you feel like this is some of your dreams on canvas for everyone to see? Because I think that's a benefit from being able to put it on canvas. It's like, man, that was my thought inside. We can never share it. We can never show it. Like how does that feel?
Kind of feels really good. Whenever I'll go to a play or go see a movie, I'm like, this is somebody else's dream or vision, and they put it out there for me to enjoy it, and I'm taking it in. It's always going to be impactful for me. It shapes my life somehow. So that's what these images are. This is my dream in my head and my heart, and I want you to receive it, and you get to enjoy that and be impacted by it.
Thank you, man. Can you walk us through one of your recent or favorite paintings and explain the meaning or inspiration behind it? And here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to, but one in this show, and then we'll get up and we'll do some B footage, and I'm going to show it. I'm going to put it when you're talking about it. I'm going to show that painting.
Two of them?
Give me two of them.
All right.
Just remember which ones they are, and then we'll do it. All right. Start with the first one.
So the whole theme of the show is B.O.R.N, beautiful outside right now, meaning that we recently had 3 years of very hard times for everybody. So we were locked inside our houses. We were prisoners to ourselves. Forced to be inside and forced to change and grow stronger as people. So whenever the doors opened, we came back outside as stronger, more beautiful people, enjoying what's around us, enjoying life a little bit more and appreciating, and also remembering that there's good and bad times. So the artwork isn't just cool imagery. It's the story of us through this imagery. I have two paintings here. One of them is the pair of sneakers with the flowers in it.
Okay. What's the title of that one?
That one is When a Petal Falls.
When a Petal Falls, and we'll put that. You'll see it right now. I'm going to put it right here. There you go. You like that? I'm gonna edit it. Tell me a little bit about that one.
So during those couple years that we were stuck inside, we all had some kind of turmoil. We all had we all had somebody that was close to us that passed away, or we lost them. We all lost something in ourselves. So that painting with the sneakers hanging from the power line with the flowers in it, it just reminds us of those loved ones that were gone, that they're not here anymore. So meaning that we have to give our people their flowers while they're still alive here with us. We have to love them while they're here with us.
I love it. Who was I talking to? We were talking about giving flowers, and that's a reference that people get. Oh, they were so good. They did this at their funeral, and no one ever they don't ever get a chance to hear the good things. And so we here at the Feld Podcast, we believe in giving flowers while people are alive. Tell me a little bit, maybe some challenges that you faced in this painting that we're talking about right now.
Man, that one was the hardest painting for me out of this whole series. It was the hardest one and the one that I did the fastest. I had painted it a day after one of my closest aunts passed away. And she was an aunt that would call me to check on me, to talk about life and make sure I'm grounded, and talk about my ideas for my artwork, and to make sure that I still am 100%, like level-headed.
As a tribute to your aunt, is there a particular set of advice or maybe something she told you that sticks to you till right now?
She said, life is always going to be hard and you're always going to have pain, but you got to use that pain as your fire and your fuel to keep going. You can't let it stop you. We're all going to have hard times, but we all pull out of them, So she was that person for me. So when she passed away, it hit me very hard, and I almost stopped everything. Like I'm in the process of finishing the show. And then that hit me so hard. I'm like, oh man, I need this to stop. And she just popped in my head, and I just broke out the canvas and started painting. And that came out of it.
Man, that's great. So that's painting number 1. What's painting number 2 in this show? And this is, by the way, this is in downtown Dallas. It's coming up in a few days. Again, because this is an evergreen podcast, everything will be on my social. It's on his social. We're connecting through those avenues. So if you're in Dallas this upcoming Thursday, you gotta drop by from 5 to 7. They'll be here. And it'll be up for a little while even after that for you to come and enjoy. Painting number 2.
Painting number 2 is Hello Beautiful.
Yes, Hello Beautiful. That's on your social quite a bit. I've plugged it. You've plugged it, and I saw you painting that on the bridge right here off of west of downtown a little bit. Tell me about that one.
Man, we set up in the middle of the highway and stopped traffic.
I saw that.
Like cars have to go around us and everything.
I'm glad it wasn't windy because they're like sails. Like paintings are like sails.
Like a sailboat,
Tell me a little bit about the emotions in the process of that painting, and then I'll put it in right here. When you see it, you'll be like, oh, that's
cool. That painting right there, kind of, I was comparing people to construction sites. We go through like the ugly periods of building and growth, and sometimes it's really gritty and doesn't look good, doesn't feel good, but in the end, as you continue building yourself, you become a beautiful product. So I wanted to paint that one and represent that growth and overcoming things.
I love it. I'll show that. I'll show both of those. I like them both. The first one you spoke about jumped out to me right away when I saw it. I'm going to read you a quote and a thought, and then you can give me your thoughts on it. This is by Edgar Degas. Art is not what you see, but what you make others see. This quote speaks to the idea that art is not just about the physical object or image, but about the experience it creates for the viewer. A truly great work of art has the power to invoke emotion, spark ideas, inspire action in those who are experiencing it. In this sense, the artist is not just the maker of things, but a communicator and storyteller who can shape the way that people see the world. What story are you trying to tell the world?
To enjoy this, enjoy the things that you have, enjoy what you have, enjoy yourself, because you have one shot at this. I want you to see this artwork and connect to it because it's things that you've seen and it brings you some kind of joy and connection. Um, I want people to feel at home. I want them to feel happy. The fact that somebody else out there is going through the same thing as them and we connect to it, whether it's a picture of a pigeon on a camera, I just want you to see it and appreciate your life and appreciate the love around you while you have it.
So here we go, man. I'm going to hit you with some questions. That was our art section. Thank you for being so open with us and talking about your artwork. But here's another set of questions just to see where you're, how you think. What is the most important lesson that you've learned in life?
The most important lesson is that, got you. When there's a storm, the sun always comes out.
Yeah. What do you think is the key to happiness?
Well, happiness comes from within first.
Yeah.
So you have to do that for yourself. There's nobody else or no other object or no amount of money or travel that can make you happy. You have to do it for yourself. So you have to find who you are and be comfortable and happy about who you are and your faults and your talents and everything, and be good with that. Because once you do that, there's a weight off your shoulder. Once you're honest with yourself, you'll be happy. And you'll be able to pass that on to everybody else. Instead of being angry and then passing anger on, you'll be able to pass on peace and happiness to everybody else once you have that as well.
What are you most proud of in your life so far?
Overcoming the challenges and being able to continue going and getting myself to this point. Yeah, I think so, because I didn't give up no matter how hard it was or how much I lost. Just kept on going.
Keep on going. That's what we say here at the Failed Podcast. What do you hope to achieve in the future?
You know, I would like for my artwork to be somewhere on the other side of the world where people don't speak the same language, but they still can appreciate it.
Yeah.
They understand this language.
By the looks of it, one of these is heading overseas soon. You're on the good path. I see good work here. Is there anything that you would like to say or anything that you would like to add, or that maybe I didn't ask a question?
This was probably for the younger guys, the younger people. Whenever you're faced with a challenge or an obstacle, there's always going to be a way past it. Don't ever let it stop you like a brick wall. You can go around it, you can go over it, you can go under it. And if you're powerful enough, you can go right through it.
That's right.
You get it done. You just stay persistent and, make things happen.
Well, thank you for coming on the Failed Podcast. I enjoyed our conversation, and thank you for the listener and for your support. And don't forget, give us a follow, give him a follow, give me a like, give him a like, share my content, share his content. We're just trying to put something positive out in the world, something that can help motivate you and inspire you to find your creativity and have the courage to put it out into the world. But you know what I always say at the end of the show? We'll see you on the next one. All right, here's the first one he talked about. What was the title of this one?
When the Petals Fall.
It's right there. Boom. And so the petals fall. I love it. All right, let's walk over to the next one. I'm going to do a little loop around. You can see, look at the show. It's a lot of stuff up. Boom. You stay right there.
This is Hello Beautiful.
What bridge do you remember the bridge name?
This is right off of the Margaret Hunt Bridge coming across, I want to say Singleton Boulevard.
Got it.
Right by Trinity Groves. I just saw one of these. It was a construction site and it looked horrible. And this thing was sitting out there, and I know these kids always hack them and put funny words in it.
Yeah, walk with me.
I just was like, what if somebody hacked it and put Hello Beautiful? How that would make everybody feel when they see it.
Check this out. Look at this view. There's that one, and then there's the other one. Almost intentionally, they ended up across from each other, and I think that this speaks emotion, pain, and then this one, like you're almost speaking to people on what they can do with themselves. It's a weird connection, but it's a good connection, and so this is just a little B footage. You can say whatever you like. You're mic'd up anyways. Here's another one of my favorites. Where was this one?
This is just in general images that I've continuously seen through my childhood and my neighborhoods where I lived, and even anywhere around the world,
Let me go to this one because I think people will recognize. Here we go. I'm going to do like this. Watch. Ready? Spin around with me. Bam. Look at that.
10 District, Fabrication Yard. It's our new home for art and creativity.
Oh, that's where your studio is?
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Yeah, and it's always been an area for people to go express themselves without being harassed, or they can do artwork even if they're professionals or not.
Yeah.
And now there's actually art studios in there, so there's us artists amongst all the other artists. So it's just a big creative community down there now.
Sounds good, man. Thank you, my man.